history.
This podcast is brought to you by Radio 786.
I watched an interesting documentary, A State of Passion, and I had the pleasure of doing an interview on that particular topic, and we're going to sort of just discuss that now and listen to the interview as well. It's a film about a Palestinian doctor, Ghassan Abu Sitta, and he provides an insightful intersection of medicine, memory, and resistance. And Dr. Abu Sitta is a surgeon, right? I think he's a plastic surgeon who works in Gaza, and his work there embodies tragedy and resilience. And he headed to Gaza after the historic launch of Operation Al Aqsa Flood. And now we'll reflect on this documentary, A State of Passion, by Carol Mansour and Muna Al-Khalidi, a film that merges his story with the story of Palestine. Through family sacrifice, and the wounds of war, this film actually reveals a people's struggle for justice and survival. So Carol and Muna, were interviewed in this process, and I think right now we will just listen to that clip.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, you are the directors and the producers, and in some cases, you did some of the filming as well.
Yes, we're a team of two, basically.
A team of two. Your documentary is definitely touching, and it was not easy to watch the documentary without really feeling the emotion of what was going on, and I think you captured the essence of that story very well. How did you get Dr. Abu Sitta to allow you to follow him around and to film in his home?
I'd like to start just by putting one thing in context, which is that Ghassan, Dr. Abu Sitta, was not actually in Gaza when the October 7th happened. He was in London, and it was a choice to jump on the first plane and go to Gaza to play his part, in as a medical war surgeon. And the reason, we had such great access to Ghassan is that we have a baseline of a long-standing friendship with Ghassan. We'd been friends for more than 10 years, and we'd been we always were in contact with him every time he went to Gaza over those last 10 years. So it was just, if you like, an extension of our pre-existing friendship. And we're lucky because of this friendship. He understands us, we understand him. He immediately understood the importance of the film.
Yeah, no.
Actually, there was no resistance.
No, he was very clear. You even told him when he was in his pajamas. That was funny. All right. So how did you approach the film, the storyboards, the goals of the film? At the end of the Carol asks Dr. Abu Sitta how he wants to end the film. So how did you approach the film and the storyboards?
Honestly, there was no script. There was no storyboard. A war was happening. A genocide was happening. A war is still happening, actually. A war was happening in Lebanon. The Israelis were bombing Lebanon. So we were filming, knowing that it was urgent to tell the story from our side, not somebody, from BBC or CNN come and tell the story. Us Arabs, us Lebanese, Palestinians, we wanted to tell the story. So the minute he sent a message to Muna saying, I'm leaving Gaza, we decided to go to Amman. He was there for 24 hours, and this is how we started the film. We filmed him. We had a very long interview. We spent the day with him. Then he went to London, then came back to Beirut. And then this is how it happened. Just, following him, following his story, following what was happening in Gaza. And the story unfolded while we were filming.
It's truly like a very organic process. We just followed what we knew we needed to do, and he was a willing participant, if you like.
Like, we didn't ask him, when we were in London, it wasn't planned. I didn't tell him, listen, you're going to go down in the morning. I'll be waiting for you down and you'll be in your pajamas. And definitely I was in my pajamas too. So it just happened. It was very natural and organic, as Mona said.
I mean, as once we decided to make the film, we of course we had an idea what we wanted, which was, like Carol said, to tell our story, but also to tell our story beyond what you hear on news reporting. So beyond the numbers, beyond the totals, beyond the facts, but to go into what it really means to be a Palestinian subjected to genocide after genocide after genocide, aggression after aggression, displacement after displacement, and why would what drives people to actually feel so strongly? That was our only guiding principle, if you like. We felt very strongly that we needed to be telling the story, I mean, rather than wait for the white man to come and rescue us from ourselves.
So the opening scene in Jordan is kind of interesting. The film opens with a very informal scene where Dr. Abu Sitta is being warmly welcomed by family and friends in Jordan. That's after returning from Gaza. You begin on this warm, almost casual note. Tell us why.
Well, we wanted the film to be warm and casual, It's like we just felt that,
I mean, Palestine, we just wanted to show that despite everything, people are warm and casual, and they do want to, live life and enjoy their family, and are happy when somebody is safe. And also the contradiction of leaving all of that behind to choose to go to a war zone to play your part. We thought it was important to show that Ghassan was going out of a sense of not duty as much as passion. Like there was, as at one point his wife says in the film, if he hadn't gone, she doesn't know if she would have respected him. So she talks about this casually, and it's about that. It's about this idea that it's not heroism, it's not a choice, it's what you have to do. You don't have the luxury of and so you just do it while you live your life.
Yeah, Dima seems as if she is equally committed, and for him it is a question of duty, purpose, mission. And interestingly, she seems driven by that same mission or purpose. And I think it's in that scene where she says very casually that she might not have respected him if he didn't go, because then he wouldn't have been true to himself and he wouldn't have been true to his mission, right? He was driven. He's driven and he's committed to doing this.
Absolutely, yes. And she is driven. I mean, for her, the justice for Palestine is the guiding star, if you like.
Dima comes from Gaza. Dima has been brought up in Gaza. She was born in Gaza. She knows what the everything that she has suffered from Gaza. So
she has suffered from the occupation, from the colonialism. She understands it. It's she's politicized. For her, it's not only emotional. It's about principle, and it's about rights, and it's about justice.
So Dima actually and Dr. Abu Sitta, I think they met in Gaza, right? And then she talks about her home and her father's home, and how his parents, or I think they were displaced, and then they returned to the land, and they put aside money, they bought the land, and then at some point in time the home was actually destroyed. It was just bombed it was destroyed basically, and they went back to recover bits and pieces of what they could recover from the home. That must have been a very difficult thing to film.
It was, because it was happening in real time. Because it wasn't scripted, and we were just following them. These things were unfolding as we were talking to them. The whole scene where she hears news that her father and uncle have been under bombardment, she thinks, and that nobody knows anything about them. This was happening while we were having a casual cup of tea.
Yeah.
So, Carol whipped out her phone and filmed that. And you can see Dima saying, please don't film me, please don't film me. I'm not ready to talk about this.
You use voice notes and very smartly, actually. So you make notable use of voice notes throughout the documentary. They feel informal, but they carry a lot of weight. Was this a creative decision on your part? How did you end up discovering, or how did you decide to use those voice notes in that interesting way?
I think, I don't know, because it was real time, it was happening, and we thought, we're not doing art, actually. We were not thinking of being artistic. We're more thinking of getting the story out. And it was quite obvious that the voice notes would be very feasible to use. And
all the voice notes that are used in the film were voice notes that Ghassan and I, or Ghassan and Carol, had exchanged, and Dima, they were exchanged at the time that the events that we were talking about were unfolding. And because what we wanted to do is give a sense of what it really means, what it really feels like, we felt that this is like real-time testimony. Because of our friendship, we're able to say, so how do you feel? Did you sleep well? Are you having bad dreams? Because this is how friends talk. And then we felt that this would help us get the message across.
Yeah, you contrasted the domestic life, Dr. Abu Sitta's domestic life at home. You filmed him in London and you filmed him in other places. And, you then contrast that with the trauma of war. So you intersperse moments of Dr. Abu Sitta's humanity and his home life, and then with the horror of what you witnessed in Gaza. At one stage, Dr. Abu Sitta is saying, there wasn't much to eat. He had to eat a lot of bread or seeds, and the seeds sort of gave him a bowel obstruction or something, and they had to perform surgery on him and whatnot. And then in the cutaway scene again, then he's at home and he's enjoying a meal with his family and his friends, and so you contrasted this domestic life with the trauma of war. What effect were you aiming for with this contrast?
Maybe to make the film a little bit lighter for people, for the audience, because to show what was happening in Gaza all the time in the film is horrendous. So I think we wanted to balance the horror with humanity. Because Ghassan, Dima, and his kids are such a great family, and they're very united. They do things together. Ghassan wakes up in the morning, like you have seen in the film, prepares breakfast. So it was important to show all of this while he's human. Maybe a little bit to humanize the Palestinians, which are in the mainstream media very dehumanized.
And as well to, like we were saying earlier, that to show that this is affecting people like you and me, like everybody. It's not something that's happening on another planet. It's something that's happening to people who wake up and have family and eat and drink and, have health issues and, and make tough choices because of a dedication to fighting injustice. But it's people like you and me. They're not different. They're not this magical. Ghassan is a lovely person, but he's not a magical creature. That is, he is not. He is exceptional in the case that he is a doctor. He is highly credible. He is an excellent witness. He is very articulate. He is he has the depth and breadth of being highly aware of the history, the social history, the political history, the economic history of what's been happening in Palestine from the 1930s onwards. And so he, in that sense, is exceptional is in that he has these traits and that make him a very good teller of the story. But he is not extraordinary, or he is extraordinary, if you like, but he's not exceptional.
Yeah, he's like an ordinary guy with just a big heart and huge commitment, and it is so evident in the movie. You know, the contrast with him being in a place of war versus, you know, his home is very telling. The comforts of London or Jordan or, you know, wherever you filmed him outside of Gaza. And then suddenly he's back in Gaza. So it must be very emotionally trying or difficult when you spend, you know, upwards of 40-something days in an area or you spend, you know, several months or weeks doing surgery and working in hospitals under those conditions, and then you have to leave the area. I almost feel like he leaves a piece of his heart behind because he's constantly on his phone or reflecting on what's happening in Gaza. Then he gets news about a fellow doctor who was either killed or captured, you know, and it must have been difficult for him to even think and function as a human being outside of Gaza, even though he was home with his family.
You know, Ghassan has tried for the past few months to go back to Gaza. And thank God the Israelis did not give him a permit and a visa to enter Gaza, because we both, Mona and I, and everybody around us are sure that they will kill him, because he is a witness of genocide, because he's on media everywhere and in media. So I lost my.
I mean, as you were saying, he never actually left Gaza.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, he talked about white phosphorus. He talked about the white phosphorus, and I think in the one encounter he was meeting with, I think the British House of Commons or one of the British parliamentarians, and there was a recording of him talking to another group of individuals where he described the white phosphorus in an interview, and he said categorically that is white phosphorus. I mean, he knows what it looks like. He understands the burns of white phosphorus. But then we also noticed that there were media outlets and there were commentators who were trying to discredit Dr. Abu Sitta, saying that he's a fraud, he's unlicensed, and he's not a real doctor, and he's making these things up. And I mean, there was overwhelming evidence to suggest what he was doing was legitimate. He's got his diplomas, yet there were agencies and outlets who were determined to defame him and you know, sort of cast doubt on his testimony. That must have been emotionally difficult as well.
And this is extremely difficult for him.
Still ongoing.
And it's draining because it is ongoing. This January, he will go before the medical tribunal in Britain for the 9th time. They keep trying to discredit him. They keep trying to revoke his license under claims of, like absurd claims, like you saw. But the problem is he has to go every time and, you know, go before the tribunal and present evidence and hire lawyers and hire barristers. It's cost him so far upwards of like 150,000 pounds just in legal fees. This is with his lawyers waiving many of his fees because they're working out of conviction. But these things cost money. And what they're trying to do is continuously trying to discredit him, in large part, as you said, because he is a credible witness and he can, you know, testify from an expert point of view. I mean, when a doctor like him who's been to a war surgeon says this is white phosphorus, I've treated it, I know it. It's different from when Mona says it.
So watching
trying to silence him.
Watching the film now, I don't want to say post ceasefire, but let us say as the ceasefire is in place, the film still forces us to confront the horrors of Gaza. The white phosphorus, we just talked about that. The amputations, the child amputations, and then the orphans, the sheer number of orphans that are created as a result of their parents being killed.
The destruction of Gaza, the ongoing, the famine, the everything, nothing has stopped. And even if there is a ceasefire, which is not a ceasefire yet, I think hundreds of years, we would need, I don't know how many years to overcome this trauma that is, like, I don't know, it's just incredible what they have done.
Dima's perspective, right? Dr. Abu Sitta's wife, Dima, is a powerful voice. We talked about her a little bit when we started. She's a Gaza native. She brings the constant, stress of following her husband's family situation under bombardment. And she stresses when he's there. She encourages him to go, but she's also very worried about him when he is there. And like she's worried about her dad. Why was her perspective so important in the making of this film?
Again, because it's real. Because it brings home, she, I mean, in her own way, she is also an eyewitness to, for us, Dima exemplifies many of our friends who were stuck outside while the war was going on, who were fretting about what's going on, about their families, about their loved ones, about their homes. She just is an example of many horrors that people were and are going through.
She is an eyewitness of what has been happening in Gaza before the 7th of October. The genocide did not start on the 7th of October 2023. So it was important to have her voice.
Yeah, Ghassan and Dima also met in Gaza. We know this points to a strong connection to the enclave and Palestine. They have a deep personal connection there. How did their love story, if you must, shape the narrative?
I think their love story and being from Gaza, at one point we asked him, are completely intertwined. I don't think they could have, or so they say, had a future if they were not in agreement about these basics. See what I mean? I mean, this is a determining factor in the relationship, how they feel about Palestine. I don't think, I'm speaking for them now, but I don't think either Ghassan or Dima could have been in a partnership with anybody who did not feel the same way, the same kind of passion, the same kind of commitment. It's part of the relationship. Like this, how when you're in a relationship with someone, you have to agree on basic values. It's their basic values.
The film is powerful. And so what, in your opinion, is the importance of a film like this in documenting the stories of oppression and human rights violations, and in this case, the lived experience of the Palestinians? Why are films like these so important?
Because I think films stay, people write reports and that nobody reads. You watch the news, it's not always, it's most of the time biased. Films stay. People are much more affected by image, by sound, by stories, and it's an archive for what has happened in Gaza. It's,
It seems that film has a deep, profound effect on people. One of the most common things we hear from people after they've watched the film is, we knew what was happening, but we didn't know the extent. Or we knew what was happening, but we didn't realize what that meant. So I think that's the power of film, that it can transport you beyond the
numbers.
The facts and figures. Because this is, I mean, we heard this most recently from people in Brazil, like, and we're talking about activists. We hear it all the time from people in Europe. We hear it all the time from people around, activists and newcomers, if you like, alike. We've been following the news, but we didn't know. So it seems to have this effect on people when you show them, when you're honest and you show them in all honesty and sincerity, the effect, not only the fact.
Right. So A State of Passion, a film about a Palestinian doctor, Ghassan Abu Sitta, it offers a very powerful intersection of medicine, memory, and resistance. That brings us to the end of this segment, and we had the pleasure of interviewing the directors and producers of the film, Carol and Muna, and we want to thank you for joining us this morning, and we hope you have a fantastic rest of the day and rest of the week.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
This podcast is brought to you by Radio 786.